Hey, thank you for joining Corruption BC. Today we're at CBC headquarters, and we just want to share with you a very serious and border on hate crime that's happening in Vancouver. In City Council. We recently heard in City Council how they're giving themselves a raise and engaging all this crazy conduct and taking taxpayers' money. The same thing is happening now with at Vancouver City Hall, and with City Manager. His name is Sadhu Johnston. Sadhu Johnston gets about $250,000 a year. He's a city manager for City Council or for the City of Vancouver. Recently, a low-income man who is partially blind wrote to Sadhu Johnston about abuse he suffered and misconduct at a community center. This community center gives food to the homeless and low-income people. However, this low-income man, who is partially blind, wrote a letter saying that they've been running out of food to the manager at the community center. Her name is Renee Keats, and she's no longer there. I wonder why. So anyways, she threatened him and said he cannot eat there anymore, not even one meal, not even Christmas, until he apologizes for giving negative feedback. This was all electronic on an email, nothing face-to-face or personal. And of course, the low-income man, partially blind, refused to apologize because he didn't do anything wrong. And he stuck up to the bullying, heavy-handed, malicious conduct at the hands of that Renee Keats, who's no longer there. He wrote to Sadhu Johnston, the city manager, who gets $250,000 a year. However, Sadhu Johnston either was wanting to be politically correct or was biased because we're dealing with his friends and people he interacts with every day. He did not even grant the low-income man, who's partially blind, an interview, and he did not even allow him to eat at the community center. He supported the malicious and hateful actions of his colleague. Secondly, the low-income man, partially blind, decided to go public with misconduct. However, Sadhu Johnston wanted to protect himself and defend himself. Use your money, your taxpayer money, to hire a city lawyer to send, I'm not joking, a threatening letter to the partially blind low-income man. A threatening letter done at the taxpayer's expense. Sadhu Johnston had no problem using your money to protect himself and have a city lawyer contact a low-income blind man and have him threatened. Which, as you can tell right there, that's a red flag at the least, and serious misconduct, which is most likely. Secondly, it's done in bad faith. Thirdly, it's a high-handed, highfalutin, and extremely malicious. Lastly, the low-income man, partially blind, waited 1 year and he wrote another letter to Sadhu Johnston saying, okay, let me eat. However, Sadhu Johnston again had the lawyer. He used your money to pay the city attorney lawyer to threaten the low-income man, partially blind. And he said, you cannot eat at that government center. And remember, nowadays, if somebody's denied a license or denied, basic garbage services, that's considered serious. What about being denied food and other services? Because they also have legal services for the poor at that location, and the low-income man was denied. So, as you can tell, taxpayers are extremely upset with this wrongdoing, having their money spent on bullying and harassing and threatening a low-income man, while you're paying for it, and Sadhu Johnston's getting $250,000 a year. This is absolutely unacceptable, and we, of course, invite you to help us stop these monsters. This is not a tribal society, and this is not a society where we can treat people like a third world country and threaten them and deprive them of their rights. So join us in contacting the City Council and demanding justice for this low-income man who is partially blind We strongly agree that Sadhu Johnston has committed a very serious hate crime, because that's hateful, denying somebody the right to eat. And we strongly urge you to join us, because a low-income man cannot afford a lawyer, the prostitute blank cannot afford a lawyer, and all he does is just every day suffers injustice, because Sadhu Johnston can bully him, threaten him, abuse him, and have the city attorney protect Sadhu Johnston while you're paying for it. Thank you for helping us seek justice.